Good evening, everyone. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and stand for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence to honor our troop both home and abroad to protect us tirelessly each and every day. Thank you.
Mr. Catali?
Here.
Dr. Pascucci is not here this evening. Mr. Santana?
Here.
Ms. Weber?
Here.
Mayor Bontempo?
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. The first item on our agenda is we have some special recognition I'd like to do tonight. We have the 8th grade girls mid-Monmouth basketball champions, and we have a special proclamation for them. What I'll do is I'll read the proclamation. I'll ask the players and the coaches to come up to receive the proclamation, and then also to line up for a picture as well. Whereas in a thrilling 34-31 victory over the number 1 seed Monroe, the Homedale Hornets girls 8th grade travel basketball team won the Mid-Monmouth Championships, and whereas the girls had an impressive season playing their way to the championship with a big regular season win against rivals Howell, Marlborough, and Wall, the girls earned the number 2 seed in the American Division, and whereas the team also stunned Fairhaven, the number 1 seed in the National Division, with a score of 35-41 in the semifinals. Very impressive. Whereas this is the team's 3rd Mid-Monmouth Championship in the 5 years the team has played together, and whereas the team success enjoyed by the Homedale Hornets girls 8th grade travel basketball team is due in part to the dedication of their head coach, Flavio Rabano, and assistant coach, Ellen Flaherty. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Mayor and Township Committee of the Township of Homedale on this 10th day of March 2020 that congratulations be extended to the following, both personally and professionally, for their on behalf of the residents of the community for their outstanding achievements: Allison Cannon, Nugna Parvatanini, good. Ava Rabano, Elisa Guanawardana, Felicia Arena, Fiona Flaherty, Gabrielle Postigo, Grace Kovalsowski, Julia Saporito, Rachel Quirk, and Rebecca Lamberti. Be it further resolved that a suitably engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to the team as a small token of the esteem in which they are held, and be it further resolved that all best wishes be extended to all for their continued success and their future endeavors, signed by Mayor Greg Bontempo on behalf of the Homedale Township Committee. So, girls, we have to get 2 rows. I'm going to get the committee up there with you. Here's right.
Yep.
Usually, like tower in the back row. You may have to go in the. You may have to go in the side.
Good job. Good job. Thank you. Way to go.
Okay, thank you.
Congratulations again, ladies. So as we proceed into the regular agenda items, before we do a vote on any of the agenda items, we do a public comment up front. So if there's any comment on any of the agenda items, please let me know. Anything on the agenda items? Consent or regular agenda items? Seeing none, I'll close public portion for agenda items. Do we have a motion for agenda items 2021-12 to 2021-27?
Moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Cutelli?
Yes.
Mr. Santana?
Yes.
Ms. Weber?
Yes, with a note.
Mayor Bontempo?
Yes.
Hi, I don't know what the agenda item.
So the first part of the meeting we do for any of the agenda items, anything that's on bills payable, routine items, and then at the end we do public comment.
Oh,
Okay?
okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. No worries. So we will go to department updates. I know. Administrator, any updates?
I just have a few. For everyone that doesn't know, our swim club registration has opened. It opened March 2nd. You can visit us online and register. Our opening day, we had quite a successful opening day, so we're looking forward to a successful season. I just found out that the county has reached out to us, and they will begin their road paving. Actually, roads from last year. We expect that at the first week of April, so we're looking forward to that. But I think most importantly, and the thing that's on most everyone's mind is the coronavirus. And we understand that many residents have concern. If you turn on any news station, I know I have concern. I just wanted to reassure everyone in the public that we are in constant communication and coordination between our first responders, our first aid, our police, our fire. We're working with the hospital. We're working with the county, state, and federal officials to make sure that we're in coordination and doing everything we can to be on top of this situation, and that we are doing everything to protect our residents. And that goes from everything in this building and making sure we're doing extra wipe downs to trying to communicate out with members of the public as much as we possibly can. What I can ask is that everyone please take, and you've probably heard it a million times, but it's important to hear it 1,000,001. Please follow the CDC guidelines, take proper precautions, be vigilant. That's the best way to stop this from spreading even further. But I just wanted to reassure everyone that we are constantly in contact. We had a meeting last night. The mayor was there with all of our emergency services, and we will be communicating out to the public any information as soon as we get it. Thank you.
Thank you. Our CFO, Paul?
No comments tonight, thank you.
Thank you. Counselor, any update from the attorney?
Nothing specific, but glad to answer any questions.
Okay. Ben from the engineering?
No specific report, but again, if you have any questions, happy to answer.
Okay, thank you. I'll go to boards and committees. Deputy Mayor Weber, any updates?
Yes, just to note that the planning board has the revised draft of the reexamination of the master plan report, and that will be open for public comment at our next meeting on March 17th. And then I just have a general comment. Do you want to wait till everyone does their committees first?
That's fine.
Okay. So my other just general comment is with respect to the coronavirus. The mayor and I have been on many phone calls. I have another one tomorrow with the federal government, trying to monitor the situation and make sure we're getting information that is factual and clear out in a timely basis. I'd like to just say something about why I love this town and what I'm hoping we'll see with this. This virus is an equalizer. Anybody could get hit by it. And it's going to be a test of our humanity. And so I'm asking our public to do the right thing, to avoid hoarding, to reach out to your neighbors, particularly the elderly, and see if they have what they need. If people need supplies, if you need to share your Clorox wipes, give somebody a can of them. If someone is sick and has to be quarantined or has to be quarantined because they've been exposed, let's do what I know we've always done in this town and make sure they have food and meals and step up and be the community that I know we can be, because it's going to be tough times ahead, and I think we have an opportunity here to really pull together as a community. So I just want to thank everyone in advance for their support, for their understanding, and a special thanks to all of our first responders, from police to fire to first aid to OEM. I'm probably forgetting someone, to our town hall staff who are doing their very best to protect us and keep us in the loop. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Curtelli?
Yes, Mayor. I see some former baseball coaches in the audience, so I think you'll be happy to know that the turf field project at Phillips Park started last week, and we're going to have it hopefully ready for the spring baseball season. There'll be 2 turf baseball fields at Phillips Park, both upper and lower. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Santana?
So on the Finance Committee, I think 3 people on the committee, 4 on the committee are here. I'd like to recognize them.
Sure.
So if you don't mind, when I call out your name, if you could please stand up so people know that you're going to be on the committee. It's public service, so it's okay to let people know that you're going to be serving. So Jerry Buffalino, thank you for serving on the committee. Gaurav Baveja, thank you again for serving on the committee. Sudarshan Aluwalia, thank you for serving on the committee. And John Yasnowski, thank you for serving on the committee. The other 2 are not here, so we'll have a separate session for all of the Finance Committee on another day when they're available.
Okay, wait a minute. Then I have to see if anyone's here from the Traffic and Bike Safety Committee. Yes? Okay, fabulous. Thank you. I just haven't met anybody in person, so I didn't know. We have Kenneth Lehner is here. Yes, Kenneth. Patrick Casteni. Yes, Patrick. Yay, nice to meet you. Mireille Naharo. Yay. Oh, you are here. Yay. So many people. Jessica Carl. Thank you. And Nausheen Hussain. And I probably said everybody's name wrong. I'm bad with names, but now I see your faces. So we'll be in touch shortly to have our first meeting. And I just wanted to add, on the Traffic and Bike Safety Committee, I was really thrilled with the breadth and depth of the applicants' experience and everything from grant writing to avid cycling of 20 to 80 miles a week, to political policy background, because we're going to be looking at all of those kinds of things. So thank you.
Thank you for all the new volunteers. Just a couple updates, kind of not to be repetitive, but the administrator and I have been, Deputy Mayor, have been very engaged with the coronavirus outbreak, the emergency services. We have a very good, dedicated group of volunteers in this town that are working day and night. First aid, fire, OEM. I know there's an OEM call, I believe Wednesday.
Tomorrow. It's a meeting.
Tomorrow with, so what the county is doing, just transparent with the public, is they're bringing all the towns in to a freehold to meet with the county OEM where there's a hospital. So Holmdel, Neptune, Long Branch, Freehold, all coming in to meet, because the towns with the hospitals could, have a lot more activity, possibly generating with, the outbreak. As we've seen, we have one confirmed patient in Bay Shore right now. We thought we had one last week, but that turned out to be a negative test. So one, and I know that there's from conversations I've had, there's multiple testing that they're continuing to do. And they're putting plans in place to be able to handle they have a typical surge of normal emergency department activity. You compile the coronavirus on top of it, so the hospital leadership is putting other measures in place in order to how to handle if they get their normal run of emergency room visits and then compile the coronavirus on top of it, how to handle that. So they're doing proactive things and measures right now. So they're trying to anticipate not knowing what's going to happen, if any. But I can tell you that the township is fully supportive of anything that they need so we can get them approvals, permits, etc., to make sure that they get their mechanisms in place to protect the residents in and around our area. That's it from the updates from the Township Committee. With that, I will open up to public comment. For anybody new, please come up to the microphone when you're called, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes to make any comments on anything regarding the township. Jenny?
Jenny Blumenthal. Is it working?
It's yeah, I think so. Yeah, it is. Yep.
21 Stony Brook Road in Homedale. We keep hearing on the radio, TV that the powers that be are dropping lots of corona test kits on ships and delivering them to hospitals. What exactly is in a kit, and what are they collecting, and how does it work? Do you spit into something and they send it away, or do they stick a needle in you? What are they?
Rocco's not here tonight.
He's out delivering them, maybe.
Yeah, that's more
So
of
you
a
don't know
medical
either?
question.
No, it's a medical question. It's some sort of bodily fluid that they take and they send to the lab and they test. And right now, when you hear presumptive positive, it is, what it really means is it tested positive in local labs, and then they send it to the CDC for confirmation. I don't know if it's saliva or blood or urine or some other bodily fluid, but
Yeah, I was
that's
just
what it
curious
is.
Yes.
Because I was curious.
Yes. No, thank you. Anybody else in public? Yes. Miss.
Hi, this is Maria. It's also on the coronavirus.
Address?
Just say you just.
Your name
Full name and
address.
address.
Sorry. Maria Naharu Martin, address 2 Stagecoach Drive, Homedale. And it's about the coronavirus. I think one of the major concerns.
Hold 1 second. Let her just check the mic.
Did you see? Just. No.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
So one of the major concerns is really the hospitals and the ability to cope with the volumes, especially on day one. We know from other countries that, for example, China, South Korea, Italy, Spain, they are trying to apply like remote work. Kids are attending a school virtually. I know the town is working on this. I myself work in New York, and we've started remote work since last week. And we also know that when the virus hits, and then the volume starts to pick up. So my question is, can we look, or maybe the committee could look into like proactive measures and maybe start taking some of the precautions to manage those volumes, like having the kids working remotely or having a little bit more precautionary measures as opposed to being a little bit reactive to what happens?
As I mentioned all the partners, I realized afterwards I forgot to mention the schools. Dr. McGarry, the superintendent of schools, was at our meeting yesterday, and we're constantly speaking with them. There are a lot of considerations, and we are following guidance from the county and the state and the CDC. So we are trying to take as many proactive measures as we can when and if it comes to the time where we need to, where the schools decide that they are going to close the schools in order to protect people. We've talked about this as the township committee on when and if we need to close town hall as a result. We're not quite there yet, and the other group of partners that I will say we're constantly in contact with, and this is at every level. I'm in contact with other administrators. Our rec department is in contact with other rec departments. So we're having that communication, and so we have discussed how that procedure will work, when and if we need to do that, but we're not at that stage yet. I don't know if anyone else has anything else to add.
I just want to say that it's important to pay attention to all the numbers, and there's a lot of them out there. For instance, in New York, as of this morning, there were somewhere in the neighborhood of 146 cases, of which only 8 required hospitalization. So when you hear these numbers that so many people, X number of people are quarantined or have the virus, it does not necessarily mean that they are all hospitalized. And my understanding from our call a few weeks ago, Greg, and correct me if I'm wrong, with the state is that there were 720 isolation beds, I think, available in the state. And they felt pretty comfortable with that number because, again, the vast majority of the people will not require hospitalization from what we've seen.
And one of the things that the Deputy Mayor said is correct. It's a isolation room that they're in, a special, I think it's called negative pressure air flow for the room. There's a lot of precautions. There's special equipment. And actually, when the administrator and I met with the hospital, they actually said that they actually have a commercial grade UV system which goes into a room after someone's been in there, and it basically kills anything that's been in the room. So they have tools in place that they are using and will continue to use as patients come in that need to be treated.
So that said, one other point that's really important for the public is what happens if you think you're sick and you have it. Don't go walking around and just showing up at clinics and doctors' offices and everything else. I think it's really, really important that people call a medical professional first, your doctor, the hospital, and get specific direction. If they want to know in advance if you're coming in with a potential TBD case, because then they're going to take those special precautions. So again, you don't want to just waltz into an emergency clinic, a 24-hour clinic or something, and then expose everyone in the clinic. So I think that's something I haven't seen as much out there that we need to start reinforcing now. What do I do if I get sick?
So I have a little detailed information I could share publicly right now. If a patient is suspected of having COVID-19, the coronavirus, the person will most likely be tested at a hospital. A medical professional will swab inside of a patient's nostril and throat. The patient has a wet cough. The healthcare worker will also collect sputum, a mixture of saliva and mucus, and coughed up. The samples will then be examined by a lab genetic material that indicates whether the coronavirus is present. So that should answer the question. That's what I got from the one of the professionals. Right. Anything else from the public? Yes.
Good evening. Christine Schmidt, 26 Apple Grove Drive. Two purposes for me getting up tonight. First, I'd like to speak in support of Tom and Mary Curtelli, who have been so publicly criticized by this committee. I have known them personally for 10 years exactly, starting with Mary as a preschool teacher when my boys attended St. Catherine's Preschool. I got to know Tom right away as a fellow active parishioner at St. Catherine's Church here in Homedale. The attacks that the three of you are taking against them is so clearly the attacks that have come out against him, and I believe to be directed from town committee members and those in support of you. It's such a clear personal and political hit job. It's really a total disgrace upon Homedale and the town committee that when you don't like someone, you smear their character and their livelihood to try to get rid of them. It's very, very sad, and it's very obvious. I've read all about the false accusations, and they're total garbage. And I ask that you drop the charade and let the town know that we're moving on. There are actually important matters that the Township Committee should undertake. Instead of spending endless amounts of money on investigations and lawsuits. This overspending falls very hard on me personally. I'd like to bring a matter to your attention. I have been a resident of this town for 13 years. Up until 2 years ago, our children attended Homedale Public Schools. We moved them to St. Leo the Great Catholic School in September of 2018. It's been wonderful for us, but one business day before school started this year, we were notified by the Board of Ed that our children were amongst the 36 children on a school bus that the township was not providing a bus for. So my issue that I'm bringing to you is to make you aware of this. It's a Board of Ed issue. I just want to make you aware of it because I need help. I have been fighting this fight by myself. A few other parents, but people know that I'm connected and I'm on the county committee, and they're all expecting me to solve the problem. And it's taken up so much of my time, and I am treading water. I'm getting nowhere. So what happened is the day before, it was the Thursday afternoon going into Labor Day weekend. Please let me talk. It's so important.
You can finish your thought.
Thank you. Okay. There was no public school bus. We were notified the day before school started, essentially. And the Board of Ed is telling us it's because the state limits $1,000 per child for non-public busing. The Board of Ed is just passing it off onto the state and blaming the state. And the state, I did contact, they say nothing can be done. So please, we have great means, we're creative people, we need to find a solution. There are many small buses on this town that go to other schools that get a bus, and they're not 36. We have 36 kids. That's a pretty good number. So I need your help. I was told early on that this happens every few years, every 10 years. I was told that the last time this happened by a mother who was involved at the time, that within the first few weeks of the school year, the township committee stepped in to solve the problem within the first few weeks. I don't know that that's accurate. I'm asking I was hoping Rocco was here. I know Tom's here. I'm wondering, is there any truth to that? What can the township committee was able to find a way to right this wrong? And I'm coming to you now because I was told by the Board of Ed, get used to it. It's going to happen again next year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any feedback I would greatly appreciate. I am reaching out to the Diocese of Trenton because I need their help too. And I'm also reaching out to Congressman Chris Smith's office. I'm not giving up. I would really appreciate the Township Committee getting involved.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? Ralph?
Good evening, Ralph Blumenthal, 41 Stony Brook Road. Don't want to get too close to it either.
I know you don't want to touch anything.
That's right.
You had to get them scared.
Anyway, with regard to preparation, with regard to the virus, one thought is one thing that's happening. One thing that's happening is a lot of meetings are getting canceled. Some of what you do may be considered optional, but other things like paying the bills are not. And you, in fact, are required to have public meetings.
Right.
Now, I haven't seen it live because we're here, not at home, that you are now live streaming the meetings. The one added thing would be, can you make arrangements for people to call in to ask these kinds of questions? It's another step of technology that you may want to think about having something available if you, in fact, have to close the meetings.
Okay.
And I don't know what the legal situation about that is, but there come times when it has to compromise things a little bit.
Yep.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
So just to that, Ralph, The public is always welcome to email our Township Administrator, Sharon, and/or the members of the Township Committee, although you'll get a much quicker and better answer if you start with Sharon, because she's the one with the answers.
I got an email from her at 6:15 tonight.
Yep,
So
and so I know some people who can't attend the meetings have been doing that. So just to make people aware in case we have to move into some other mode, that's an option.
And I just want to add on to that we have thought about this, that potential. The Township Committee can call in and have a meeting. There's also a number of bills that, as the Township Administrator, I can pay if there's an emergency. And clearly, we would cut down on any non-essential business should we not be able to meet as a group in this room.
Great. Thank you for thinking about it.
Thank you all. Miss?
Hi, my name is Jillian DeSarlo. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you can hold it too if you
Okay.
want. You don't have to bend over yet.
2 Mulberry Lane in Homedale. So I just have my notes, if that's all right.
Yep.
So this question is in regards to absentee voting. It was pertaining to Dr. Pascucci, and if he was here, I would be asking him directly. However, I do want to get your input on the matter. Do you think he should be removed from office if he is found guilty of voter fraud? I know that's been something that has been on my mind and on other people in my community as well, and I would like to get your input on the matter.
I'm not aware of the commitment and voter fraud. Counselor? Yeah.
I mean, I can.
Do you have any other comments before we?
No, just
Okay.
it's really I wanted to get everybody's input on that matter. I wanted to bring it to his attention personally, but like I said, he's not here for me to ask him directly.
This isn't a deposition. If any member of the committee wishes to engage, you're more than welcome
Yeah,
to do so. But
just figured it was open to
that's
public.
just a public comment that was offered.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Oh, yes, sir.
First, let me just ask you real quick. Is this about any question relating to the town?
Anything? Yeah, anything. Yes.
Glenn Fogarty, 614 Laurel Avenue in Hazlet. I'm not a resident of Homedale. I've been a resident of this area since the mid-1970s. I'm not sure if any of you have been here that long, but I know some of us have been. And I'm here about an issue related to you dropping slum housing on the corner of Laurel Avenue and Middle Road. I have here a stack of paperwork that, if you allow me to talk for a few minutes, maybe more than 2 more minutes beyond the 3 mark, I'll save you having to get a tube of Preparation H, so you don't have to listen to that crowd back there and their complaints.
It's limited to 3 minutes, sir. So you
It
can.
is,
Yes.
I see. Okay, well then, I was going to try the nice route, so
Okay.
I'm going to try the opposite route here. I know some of you are against this project, some of you are in favor of it, but we have an infrastructure right now that's already crushed. It's basically urban sprawl on crack. And at that intersection, if you live in that vicinity, which you don't, I know you don't because you don't go through there, you guys live down here, you would see that it backs up 1/4 of a mile at every time there's a red light. Now, if you live along this road, you can't even get out your driveway. Even if it's an emergency, people don't care. They'll block you in. Okay, so with that said, you're now thinking of adding another 50 units into 3.8 acres. I've done all the homework here, okay? You're basically going to cram 50 families that make less than $21,000 into, I know my facts here, a 13-foot wide unit. That's the only way you can cram 50 into 3.8 acres. And if they make $91,000, they can have kids. But here's the best part of the single people. The single people, if they only make $21,000, that means they're well below minimum wage. Because now that that's been passed, with minimum wage being $15 an hour, you're now making $32,000. So what you're essentially saying is you're stiffing us with Section 8. And then on top of that, you're going to crush the entire infrastructure that's already about to explode. I mean, the roads are like the Dukes of Hazzard, and I'm sure some of you are old enough to remember that show. I feel like Bo and Luke Duke every time I go through there. Now, finally, somebody fixed the potholes. But let's see. In the past 6 months, I can count about 10 people that have been hit, especially one guy who's been living in Homedale, right at the curvature on Laurel Avenue, for about 40 years. He decided to go to work one day, and so we went right through the intersection and made him go sailing about 50 feet through the air down Middle Road, because she was probably texting or something like that, you know. So she slammed him. I don't even know if he's still alive. But I can easily, through the Freedom of Information Act, find out how many fatalities, how many accidents go on. But I can tell you, looking out my window, that's what I see at least once a week. Your police department and Hazlitt's the police department that are constantly there attending to either issues of safety or issues of medical attention or things of that sort. It's urban sprawl on crack. And I'm here to beg you guys, I'm doing this nicely, beg you to cease this project. You have plenty of land, and I don't want to hear the excuse that you don't have sewers down by Bruce Springsteen's. I spent 2 hours drinking with him. He moved out of your town because he needed some privacy. Okay? So now at this point you're saying this part of Hazlitt, we don't deserve privacy. In fact, you want to just cram even more on top of the development you built in 40 years since the old wagon farm, Dixie Tulip, all of that's gone. Now you're reaping the rewards.
Thank you.
While we suffer.
Thank you, sir.
Now, it's your choice. If you go forward, I'm just going to say at the end here, if you go forward, this is part of an injunction. I have to notify you, and wherever your camera is, this is your official notification. You will be sued with an injunction, and then it will go, that's for the preliminary, and it will proceed to a full injunction for permanent, because we can't take it anymore. And all these people back here, they're behind me, and they filled these all out. This is what you're up against, and if you don't believe me, there's some handwriting for you.
Thank you.
Consider that more.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? Yes, sir.
Hey guys, Mark Biebel, 7 Falconbridge Circle. Also in support of Tom and Mary Critelli. I sent you guys an email a few weeks back, and I'm just going to read a couple questions I have not had answered adequately. Since the Monmouth County prosecutor determined there was no criminal wrongdoing and recommended considering an ethics violation, there is continued legal proceedings, I understand, against Mr. Critelli. So my first question is, does the committee feel that the investigation by the Monmouth County prosecutor was inadequate or incorrect in any way?
Okay, you may want to say everything.
Yeah. And is there a proposed budget for any legal fees we may have for the continued investigation on this matter? Those are my
Are you done?
questions. Yeah.
Okay. So on ongoing litigation, we do not comment on, Mark. So when it's finally resolved, we will obviously
Yeah, the question
communicate.
really wasn't about the litigation. It was about the quality, I guess, your opinion of the quality of the Monmouth County prosecutors, not on an ongoing thing. Was there something wrong with the Monmouth County prosecutors' investigation that is triggering something continued?
We hired outside counsel for that, so that would be a better question. For him, if
Right.
you want to submit it via email.
What about the budgetary portion of that? That's not anything to do with the legal. Is there a proposed budget that we have? And another question is, have we spent some legal fees dealing with the Monmouth County prosecutor before? And what have we spent already? What do we plan to spend in the future?
Yeah, I don't have those numbers.
And how are we able to get those?
I do not have those numbers.
How can the public get those?
File an Oprah.
Oh, sorry?
File an Oprah request.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public? Yes, sir.
Sean McDermott for Riverside Lane. Follow up to Mark Biebel's comments. The township has hired outside counsel to pursue Mr. Critelli on a matter that was settled over 7 years ago legally settled between multiple parties, the township government at the time, Mr. Critelli and his family. We now are engaging outside counsel in spending taxpayer funds and monies towards this senseless litigation when we have New Jersey Natural Gas at our doorstep. How can you go back and pursue something that was bound by law, that all parties agreed to, and ask for someone to pay you back something that the township sewer line backed up and damaged his property in which the claim was initiated? Tell me how that benefits the taxpayers of Homedale to move backwards instead of forwards. No answer. Because it's senseless. And your seat's up for election, so is Rocco's, and you're misspending taxpayers' money. The taxpayers will finally hold you accountable for that. And more importantly, on a legal level, I think you're pursuing something that they have the wherewithal to come back and sue the township for the monies that they left on the table. They settled for half of their claim, and you're now pursuing them, and you're slandering his wife's good name in this town. It's inappropriate. Lead by example and govern and lead.
Anybody else in the public? Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll close public portion. What do you? Okay. Okay.
My name is Victoria Fogarty. I'm from Hazlitt, 3 Russell Place, Hazlitt, New Jersey. The
you get that,
question I
Wendy?
have is about environmental. There is a creek that runs through there. So how is the land going to handle that? That creek has been there more than 40 years. Now, I saw a soil company there, so I would like to know what the results of that soil company that was there a couple of weeks ago, if you have any of that.
Finish all your statements and
Okay.
then I'll comment.
And why do you want it there? Why not at another piece of property? What about Potter's Farm? Potter sold his land, I believe I heard a couple of months ago. So can that be put there? Obviously, there are sewers there because of the houses on Van Shook and Fox Run. Because from what I understand, that there's no sewage south of the Garden State Parkway, I was told.
When you're all finished, ma'am, we'll provide you a response. So
Okay,
just let us know.
that's good. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. As the public's well aware, that site in question is part of the township's settlement with the Superior Court and with Fair Share Housing and resolution of the township's affordable housing obligations. Each of the sites were identified and due diligence was done by the township's COA planner. And those findings, including dealing with wetlands issues and other things of that nature, had to be submitted to the Superior Court in order for the settlement to be approved. If you have any questions about the due diligence that's been done, you're more than welcome to file an OPA request, and if there's any public document available, we'd be happy to give that to you.
Sir, did you want to speak?
Hi, I'm James Fogarty, 3 Russell Place, Hazlitt, New Jersey. I'd like to know why the people on Marshall Drive were not informed of this construction that you people want to put up. That's number one. Number two, you say there's no sewages. Well, you just built new homes by AT&T, and there's plenty of land there. You can tap into that and build these buildings that you need. The people here in Hazlitt are tired of you people trying to border us constantly and trying to destroy our property values while maintaining yours. We don't find this fair. There was plenty of land in Homedale for you to build these type of homes. Yeah, I'm sorry, but that's the way I feel, but I'd like to know why. The people on Marchand Drive were not informed. They're going to look out their backyard and see a 4-story building? That's not right. That is absolutely not right, and very inconsiderate of your township. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No answers.
Hi, guys. Lauren Aflito. I'm their neighbor. I live at 613 Laurel Avenue in Hazlitt. He's correct. We live across from each other, like directly. For him to back out with his children and me to back out with my children, we have to wait for each other because of all of the traffic that's coming down. Literally in the morning for me to leave to work, I work in Staten Island. I left Brooklyn to come to New Jersey to build a better life for my family and have open space. And over the past 8 years, not only Homedale, but Hazlet itself has built up. And now, right where I look out my window, I will see this 4-story building, or whatever complex they decide to buy. You used to be a really nice neighborhood, and we all know in Hazlet the reality of why it's going there. It's not a secret. It's by us because you don't want it by you. And I get it. I guess if I was in your position, I would try to do the same for my town. But you're interrupting our lives, and just kind of think about that, I guess. I don't know what else to say. I mean, hopefully I'll move soon, but I won't stay there if that's how it's going to look. And it's just, we're all very upset. We've been up and down the blocks, and I'm just hoping that you guys would understand that. I mean, it's not the right place for it, and 50 units, it's not like the other affordable housing where it's, you know, townhouses and it looks pretty and okay, everybody deserves a place to live and we all got to pay to live somewhere. But these little tiny apartments for people to just like make it look pretty at least, make it look nice at least. 50 units and 3 acres is just not, it's just not what New Jersey. I wasn't allowed to build a big pool because they said to me in Hazlet, we don't want it to look like Staten Island. And now you're making it look like Brooklyn, where I came from. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public?
Can I go twice?
No. No. So our COA hearing for the ordinances is the next meeting on March 24th.
COA is defunct.
Or the fair share housing. I'm just making a statement. I'm not looking for comments. So I'm just. Thank you. Anybody else in the public? Yes, sir. You have to come up. You have to come up.
Hi, I'm Jack City. I live on Russell Place in Hazlet. Is there a follow-up meeting on the 18th about the proposed convenience store and gas station at Olympic Tire?
There is
You're
a
really trying to cram a lot into an intersection that can't handle the traffic now. Our EMS is on Leocadia. If we can't get out of our side streets, the EMS can't get out to help people. Like, have you guys taken that into consideration while you were doing your survey? Did you know our EMS was on Leocadia?
Yeah, when you're done. Yeah.
Whenever you're finished, I will respond to your. Okay, so this is not specifically a hearing on anything that has to do with the middle road. You're welcome to speak on it, but this is not. We're taking no action on Middle Road tonight. There is an application before the Homedale Zoning Board of Adjustment regarding a proposed variance request for the property that you were referring to. That hearing on whether or not the zoning board will approve or not approve that variance will be on the 18th of this month. There are ordinances related to the affordable housing fair share settlement that will be on for second hearing before this board on March 24th.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? Yes, sir.
No offense, I'm not touching the mic. Sharon, you mentioned the road paving.
Just say your name.
JENLO 18 Ladwood Drive. Does this involve Homedale Road this season? Do we know with the county paving? Because of my prior comments.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't remember.
I can look it up in 2 seconds. I don't want to hold everybody up. I will let you know as soon as I look it up. But I believe, if I remember, Homedale Road is a county road. So it would not. So then I can answer you right now. It's a county road. It is not part of the. I'm sorry if it was confusing.
Yeah, okay,
so the township entered into a shared service agreement last year with the county to pave municipal roads.
Okay, I remember that.
With the town. So the county has some resources, and it's less expensive for us to have the county pave the roads as opposed to going out to a private contractor.
Okay.
The county has a number of roads throughout a very large county, and so they're completing part of that shared service agreement into this year. That is what I was referring to. So there are municipal roads that are being paved by the county, and we are paying the county as opposed to a private contractor. That is starting up with us on April 1st. The county will have to choose when they want to pave Homedale Road. I do remember you asking about this a couple of months ago. ago. We did reach out to the county. We haven't heard back. I'll follow up with them again on if they have any
Yeah,
plans on
maybe some of the
paving that.
freeholders should take their nice cars up and down Homedale Road a few times and see how they view Homedale Road. Also, I mentioned about being proactive on potholes, and I've noticed the town has attempted to, but I've also noticed 3 or 4 weeks or later, they're banged up again. So is there a way to cut a whole area out that's just a problem area that recurs every 2 or 3 months and do that? I would encourage us to look at that because, again, there are patches that they just need to be done every 3 months, and it's just a waste of time and money.
Mayor, if I may, that type of project is a little more complicated, requires different equipment than maybe the township personnel might have. It's different than just patching, filling a pothole. So that would require,
a roller, a steamer, right, and stuff like that.
Exactly.
I would just possibly consider that on maybe a handful of areas around town.
If I may, Mayor, please shoot me an email with some of the areas you'd like us to look at, and we'll take a look and see what we can do.
Okay. And the last thing I want to say is I'm not going to get involved in the Committeeman Critelli situation. I made my points very clear. I just would make a general comment about another comment here that looked like a complete scud job on Dr. Pascucci. Clearly, it's obvious where that came from. It's very obvious when someone is sent in here as a political operative. People that don't come to these meetings, they don't see the facts. I'm not going to comment on the voting situation, but to me it's laughable when someone comes in with a quick comment like that, clearly written and directed by other people, many of which we know. It's just laughable. It doesn't even pass the smell test. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just say something about the road?
Yes.
Sharon, I'm wondering, because I have it here now, we have a schedule of the roads that are going to be paved. Can we post that on the website or something, or?
We can definitely post the roads that were scheduled to be repaved in 2019. As you know, we're going through the budget process now. We have a proposed list of roads for 2020, and as soon as we get through the budget process, we can publicize that.
Yeah, but that would be helpful, and include, I'm happy to see some of them are being done by New Jersey Natural Gas and in partnership with New Jersey American Water when they reopen a road. And so we thank you for making all of that happen. But let's post that so people know what's on the plan. And then hopefully going forward, I know that Ben and Sharon have been working on, pending our budget discussions and what our budget allows, some type of ability to post a map and a schedule so you can see, well, they didn't get me this year, but I'm next year, right? So we're working on it, okay?
And we're doing it in conjunction with our Public Works Department and our Director, Victor. Just want to mention him, too.
Yes, go Victor.
Anybody else in the committee have anything? Go ahead. Sure.
All right.
Keep this on.
Underneath.
All right, folks. I know there's a lot of questions on Mr. Critelli's issue, so I wanted to share the due diligence that I did. It's just facts, and it's up to you to accept them or not accept them. So I'm going to read them out to you. First of all, I was very surprised to receive the letter from the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office outlining irregularities related to my colleague, Mr. Critelli. I was new. I was only about 2 weeks in the job. So it was incumbent on me as a new TC member to do my own due diligence on this matter and share my findings with everybody here. This I did without political prejudice because you know I ran as an independent, as I'm new to politics and have no political affiliation. As you know, I have a professional background in fighting fraud, waste, and abuse. And I use that lens in reviewing the facts objectively, and I arrived at my own conclusion. And I'm going to tell you all that I've discovered. So I reviewed the entire file that the township provided to the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office, and the letter Mr. Critelli released to the press, and the comments made by Mr. Impreveduto and Mr. Hines in the press. The central question in my analysis was, while Mr. Impreveduto and Mr. Hines now claim that they had an agreement to pay Mr. Critelli, why was the payment made out to Danatom and not to Mr. Critelli? when there was no business relationship between Danitom and the township. So here are the facts. Mr. Curtelli wrote to the insurer on January 30th, 2012, stating he'd be willing to accept $39,000 roughly as settlement, and stating that is more than fair. He copied Mr. Improveduro, the mayor, and Mr. Hines, and the township administrator, Andy Katz. Andy Katz had left the township by then and did not have access to his email. The emails to Mr. Improveduro and Mr. Hines went to their personal email addresses. No other township committee member could have had access to this discussion. Subsequently, the Curtellis signed a release on April 2nd, 2012 with the township and the town insurer Skybell, releasing the town from further claims under the settlement agreement for the damage to their property from the hurricane. The release stated that the township did not commit any mistake, nor were they negligent, and did not accept any fault. The town insurer, Skybell, paid the settlement check for $30,000 to the Curtellis. The payment in question is this check from the township to Danitom for $9,872, made out on February 5th, 2013, when Mr. Curtelli was the township committeeman, voted on the same day on that check. Danitom filed a W-9, acting as a vendor to the township on the same day that Mr. Curtelli voted. A W-9 is usually filed for IRS purposes by vendors and contractors providing services to the township when they sign a contract with the township. Danitom did not have a relationship with the township, nor did the township request services from Danitom for the stated work. Danitom did not submit a tort claim against the township, as it does not own any property. Danitom, therefore, did not have a legal claim against the township and did not go through the standard procurement process as a vendor to perform any work for the township. Danitom filed an invoice for Hurricane Irene cleanup without any date or any signature. The purchase order that exists for Danitom has a date of January 23, 2013, and was filed by the CFO, Jeanette Larison, on February 5th, 2013, the same day Mr. Curtelli voted on the check. The W-9 that was filed for Danitom was also filed on February 5th, 2013, the same day Mr. Curtelli voted on the check. The check that the township prepared for Danitom is also dated February 5th, 2013, indicating that the check was prepared and cut ahead of the township meeting that evening, the same day Mr. Curtelli voted on the check. All documents related to Danitom, the invoice from Danitom, the purchase order for the work by Danitom, and the W-9 filed by Danitom did not spell out Mr. Curtelli's name nor his title, even though he's the owner of Danitom. The endorsement on the back of the check made out to Danitom, after it was cashed or deposited, did not have Mr. Curtelli's signature, nor his name, nor his title. All these actions made the relationship between Danitom and Mr. Curtelli not obvious. Mr. Curtelli could not have recused himself from voting on the check on the township meeting on February 5th, 2013, without making that relationship between himself and Danitom public. The check was also not placed in the over 3,500 payable list, despite a clear, unambiguous note on the purchase order indicating that it was 3,500. It was over 3,500. So, attracting public scrutiny and making the relationship between Danitom and Mr. Curtelli public would have exposed the violation of the release that the Curtellis signed with the township insurer. Mr. Improveduro and Mr. Hines made statements recently implying that they had an agreement to pay Mr. Curtelli the additional $10,000. Mr. Improveduro added that it was done as it saved the township a lot of money in lawsuits. It's therefore apparent that Mr. Improveduro and Mr. Hines collaborated with Mr. Curtelli to pay Dan and Tom instead of Mr. Cortelli to circumvent the release that the Cortellis had signed with the township insurance carrier Skybow. This they did by taking advantage of the fact that the relationship between Mr. Cortelli and Dan and Tom was non-public at that time of the payment and placed under bills payable instead of over $3,500 list so as to not attract scrutiny. This, in my opinion, is illegal. I would highly recommend, therefore, Mr. Cortelli return the $98,872, and I also would advise you to look into the facts. Thank you.
Mayor, I'm just going to stand by my statement from January, and I will point out that Mr. Santana made some inaccurate remarks in there. Mr. Katz was an employee in 2012. He didn't leave until after Hurricane Sandy. So I just want to point that out amongst a number of other inaccuracies. Thank you.
Still open to public. Is there any other public? Yes, sir, in the front.
Good evening. My name is Michael DeSenza. I'm actually a... Well, can I pick this up?
Yeah, you can.
Sorry, yeah. I just don't want to be leaning out. I'm a Hazlitt resident.
State your address.
Oh, sorry. Michael DeSenza, 1 Dutch Lane, Hazlitt, New Jersey. We're just being made... this was just brought to my attention. I know that Hazlitt just dealt with a... I don't know what if it's called affordable housing or low-income housing, however it's worded. We already had our own thing over there, and we have to put it up, and it's already being built. Right. Now, we find out that Homedale is going to basically, everybody has to do it. It's a state law. I get it. I'm not trying to dispute that. However, it just seems a little deliberate that it's basically in Hazlitt. I mean, I know it's not Hazlitt with the lines, but it is Hazlitt. I mean, if you look at it, it's in... We're going to be sandwiched in between two low-income housing, and one of them is 50 units, which I'm assuming on a 3-acre lot, which is less than 3 acres, is probably going to be a high-rise. I don't know, but that's the only way you can fit 50 units. I'm just asking that with how big Homedale is, and we already have to deal with it on our end, and the town of Hazlitt is so small, why? Is it deliberate? Because it just seems like you're just dumping it. So you got, no offense, I'm just saying, so Homedale doesn't have to deal with it. Is there any way with all the room in the woods you guys have to build it somewhere else? That's all I'm asking.
Thank you. Anybody else? No, one comment tonight. Sorry. Anybody else? Public comment? Nope. I'll close public comment. Have a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for coming out.